Rental rates in Singapore have been skyrocketing. If you're a tenant, I feel your pain as your hard-earned money is burned with a rental increase of easily 1 to 2,000 more per month. And not to mention the unbearable stress of hunting for a new unit if the current landlord does not wish to renew. Queues forming along the corridors waiting to view a unit for rent are now a common sight. And it can be very daunting to know that you have only 1 out of 20 chances to secure a unit that you really like. It's really a bad time to be a tenant in Singapore right now. At the same time, it's a super good time to be a landlord. The question is, how long will this last? And here's an interesting answer to your question. It may end sooner than you think. Compared to a year ago, the same unit can easily command 20 to 40% higher rent, and this causes a lot of pain for tenants, as salaries do not typically go up by 20 to 40% per year. On and off, you will hear about news articles like this, saying that rents are going higher and higher. Whether you are a landlord or a tenant, you will definitely have this question in mind. When will the music stop? Now, before we go into that, we need to first understand how did we get here in the first place. If you recall back in 2017 to 2018, we had an en bloc fever. The reason why developers were frantically buying up land was because there was hardly any en bloc or government land sales over the past few years. That was because the property market tanked after aggressive cooling measures were introduced in 2013. And the sentiment back then was really bad. But as the developers' land banks depleted and the market started to recover, they went in hard to restore their land banks to remain in business. With the lack of government land sales and en bloc activity prior to 2017, and with a lead time of about 5 years from buying the land to the project completion, that means there have been very few new projects that are completed prior to 2022. And if you can recall, for the past few years, construction projects have been delayed for 6 to 12 months on average due to COVID lockdowns. Hence, we are only starting to see the first batch of en bloc properties getting completed in 2022, plus some other projects from earlier government land sales, of course. The bigger projects that were completed in 2022 were Sterling Residences, Park Esta, and Park Colonial. Can you recall what projects were completed in 2021? I bet you will struggle with that, even if you are a property agent. It was the perfect storm with a lack of new residential supply at the time when our borders reopened and foreign talent started pouring in. Landlords suddenly found themselves spoiled for choices as tenants bidded aggressively to secure a unit to stay. You might think that landlords are greedy, and I don't blame you for feeling that way. At the same time, here's some food for thought. If the market crashed and tenants want to pay less than what they used to, would you feel that tenants are being stingy? I digress. Obviously, you can't build new homes overnight to house new tenants whose numbers have increased overnight, or sort of. Without surprise, just like prices of food during a famine, rental prices exploded. So what's next in 2023? If you have been following my train of thought, you'll probably be thinking that we are going to have much more new supply coming in 2023 as more and more new projects from the en bloc cycles get completed. And yes, indeed, big projects such as Midwood, Jadescape, and Riviere are slated for completion over the next year. These three alone will add more than 2,200 units to the supply. But what if we include other projects? How do the numbers look like? And how do they compare with the previous years? So here's a chart from the third quarter URA statistics that gives us very objective data to supplement our fuzzy crystal ball. This chart shows you how many physical units are expected to be completed each year. And you can see a huge spike in units that are expected to be completed in 2023. And that tapers off again over the next few years. We are not likely to see another spike like 2023 in the near future because since the en bloc fever died in 2018, the number of GLS and en bloc deals have never reached the same scale. Coming back to 2023 with a bumper supply, do you think the rental market will crash? Let's do a deep dive and look at two interesting aspects. Number one, the location, and number two, the unit types that will become available for rent. Number one, if you're a tenant whose kids are studying in the East and hope to secure lower rent in 2023, that might not come so fast. Even though supply is increasing in general, there aren't many new units entering the market in the East in 2023. The next big one will be Treasures at Tampines, which will add more than 2,000 units to the market, but that's only coming in 2024. So despite the upcoming increase in rental supply, it is very project specific, and it will be important for you to understand where these projects are located, in which year they will be completed, and how that might affect you. Number two, it will be very logical to expect more supply of smaller units to hit the market when the condos attain their TOP status. After all, not many buyers will buy 3 bedders and above for investment and rent out after TOP. So it'd be common to assume that there won't be many big units available for rent from newly completed new launches. Now, does that mean the rent for smaller units will drop while those for bigger units will remain high? Not quite. Don't forget that many buyers of 3 bedrooms and above are now renting a place while waiting for their units to be completed. That's simply because paying ABSD to own a second property is very punitive even for a Singapore citizen. So most buyers who have bought 3 or 4 bedder new launches have already sold their place and have been renting ever since then. Once these units are ready for move-in, the buyers of these 3 and 4 bedder new launches will simply stop their existing leases and the supply will flow into the market too. In my view, there won't be much difference in additional supply regardless of the bedroom type, except if there is something unique about the project that will be completed soon. For example, at the Foret, which is located near Beauty World, about half of its units are 2-bedders. So you can expect that to add a lot of 2-bedder supply into that location. Again, while it's important to understand the macro, you will need to dig a bit deeper to understand how specific projects will affect you. And that's where I come in. What does all of these mean for you? To summarize, the rental market should stabilize in 2023 with a strong increase in rental supply, and coupled with the fact that companies are now slowing down their hiring, which translates into fewer foreign talent coming into Singapore.
This will bring balance to the force.
Bring balance to the rental market in the months to come. So how can you apply this knowledge to your advantage? Let's use some examples to illustrate. If you're a landlord and you're renting out a unit near Bishan, my advice would be to secure a 2-year rent quickly so that you will not be competing with other landlords when Jadescape attains TOP next year. By the time your contract is up, most of the new units at Jadescape would already have been taken up, and you'll be facing much less competition at that time. Conversely, if you are a tenant who is currently renting in Bishan, you might be better off extending your current lease by another year, so that when it's time to renew your lease again next year, you would likely have better bargaining power at that point in time. And let's hope your landlord hasn't seen this video. There are many takeaways in this video and you might want to rewatch it to make sure you have absorbed everything. But otherwise, did you learn something new today? If you would like to see more of such real estate analysis in future, hit the like and subscribe button below. Or if you wish to see another such analysis before making your decision, check out my next video about how recent cooling measures will affect the HDB market, and you can always subscribe after that. Better late than never. Hope you have enjoyed this video. My name is William, and I'll see you in my next episode.